What's up, YouTube? I on UTV back in the building. Today we got some breaking news on Puffy Combs, Sean Diddy Puffy Combs. His home has been raided by Homeland Security. We finna take it to the news and check this out, y'all. See how Diddy fared with this raid. Let's go.
Gear and equipment. I don't think they're actually searching for any items that could connect whatever the investigation is. I would venture to say that those are going to be the guys that you're seeing right there, and they're waiting for that all clear. And then this group that you see there, those are the ones that are actually going to go inside. They probably have, like you said, they probably have ideas what they're looking for, where they might be. So, but right now it is still a waiting game to make sure that everybody is out of this building and that it is secure for the investigators to make their way in and actually start that search.
And we should mention, thank you, Stu, that if this is in fact involving a sex trafficking investigation, we do know that according to Diddy's attorneys and the rapper himself, he has denied any wrongdoing in any of all this. So there are two sides, of course, to this as this all plays out. But it is interesting that these raids happening at the same time. According to TMZ, a raid of his Miami home is happening right now, as well as now we're looking at the live pictures of what's going on in Holmby Hills at this mansion right here, all connected to Sean Combs. So again, until we find out further word as to what exactly they're searching for and why, we continue to look at the procedures taking place regarding this raid that's being conducted by Homeland Security. You have support from local law enforcement officials as well. We saw from the ground shots, you see multiple agencies there a part of all of this, and they have a number of resources on hand with a drone flying up top, as well as they had ladders taking a closer look at certain parts of the property. And so they are looking at every nook and cranny they need to in terms of why they're investigating this home and property. So clearly this is going to take a while, and as Haley mentioned with her shot down on the ground right there, more people are coming to your area. Haley?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly media at this point. We were the first ones here on scene, but yes.
Man, they done rolled down on Puffy Comb, man. They tired of Puffy, man. It's got to be because somebody done told something, but they looking for some tapes. I can guarantee it because, you know, they said that in the past that he had tapes of whoever he had sex with his you know, his thing. That was his thing, recording it and having other men sleep with his women. Let's go.
Since there's probably a dozen different media agencies. Yeah, it looks like his homes on both coasts are being raided. We still have not gotten word on exactly where P. Diddy is, if he is in fact in New York right now or in Los Angeles. And of course, yeah, we haven't seen him here in Holmby Hills. This is right off of Sunset and Beverly Glen. And it all unfolded, I would say, about 30 minutes ago. They're at his home here. They're also at his home in Miami. Of course, it's a little bit calmer, I would say, than it was about 20 minutes ago when it all happened. The guns that were drawn earlier have been since put away. It looks like they just put away their drone, but of course doing a thorough job of checking the home for any kind of details that they can come up with related to these allegations against sex trafficking. As you said, Sandra, there's several lawsuits against him for these allegations, all of which he has denied. So we will have to wait and see. Of course, and everybody's interested in the details of what how he's connected to these latest allegations.
And from your vantage point,
we will bring the very latest as soon as. I'm sorry.
Yeah, from your vantage point, Haley, does.
Yeah, man. I want to bring this to my audience attention too, man. I was a street guy growing up, and I have never heard of Homeland Security doing a raid. Boy, that might be you. That might be the jam right there, bro. But you got millions and you got a lot of money, man. So we'll see how you fare out. Let's go, though.
Does it look like some authorities are leaving the scene right now? They're done, or not? Is that not the case?
No, it looks like more are coming. I think what you're seeing is just the vehicles moving to a different location. We're kind of at the bottom of the hill. But if you go up a little bit farther, some of the vehicles that you saw down here earlier have since kind of gone to the other side of the hill. This is obviously a very prestigious neighborhood. I said earlier, Humphrey Bogart's former house, I think, is next door to P. Diddy's in the 200 block here of Mapleton and Holmby Hills off of Sunset near Beverly Glen. So the vehicles have basically just moved forward. You're seeing a lot more of those law enforcement officers from the Department of Homeland Security, though, back here on the street in Mapleton since they've come out of the home after they've done their thorough investigating inside that beautiful home belonging to P. Diddy, to Sean Combs. So I don't think they have any intention, Sandra, on going anywhere anytime soon. And overhead, you can see law enforcement helicopters and, of course, Stu up there in Sky Fox.
Thank you so much, Haley, for that perspective on the ground right there in front of that Holmby Hills mansion. Stu, up in Skyfox, it looks like, yes, there are some more law enforcement, but in different attire. Should I say suits instead of body armor?
Definitely, and you know, and we all know how that works. The suits are going to be the investigators and probably the ones that are running the show. And again, I still think that they are just waiting for that green light for them to be allowed to make their way inside the property and to make their way to the areas that I would venture to say that they probably are pretty specific. I don't think they're just going in randomly. And again, this is just a guess. I don't think they're going in randomly, just going through everybody's stuff inside there. They probably have an area that they know or an office that they're going to be looking into or some computers that they might want to physically get their hands on, and that's what they're waiting for right now to make their way inside this property. This, like you said, very beautiful home out there in the Holmby Hills area, and they just waiting to get the all clear to allow them inside while these officers that we see right there in the tactical gear, well, their job is to make sure that everything is safe for them to go in. Now, they don't probably... again, I just want to be clear. It's like nobody's thinking that there's booby traps or some kind of sniper inside the home. That's not what they're thinking at all. It's probably more along the lines of they want to make sure that everybody is outside of the home because they don't want to have somebody stepping out or coming out later on and, surprising or catching people off guard. That's not what they want. And right now, you can see Sandra, you've been saying, there's a large number of people out here. I would venture to say, as far as the officers go, I would probably put this group closer to 100. Not just what we're seeing right here. This is just one group of many that have made their way out here to this Holmby Hills area. And as far as the suits that we were talking about, that's part of the group right there. But there's some other ones as well, younger ones that were basically leading the charge. And that's them right there, actually. They perfect timing. And it looks like they're making their way over towards the home. They might be the first ones to make their way in to start that investigation process or figure out where we're going to look, what we're looking for, and then later on the suits will make their way in as well. But this, like you said, is going to be a very long process out here, and this is just the very, very beginning. And the folks that they had taken into custody, they've moved them out of the area right now. And again, wouldn't say that they are arrested. We don't know that for a fact. They took them into custody. A few of them still had cuffs on. Some of them didn't. So maybe this was a division of, these are people that we know work here. These are people that may be associated with Sean Combs, or Bad Boy Entertainment. So it's one of those type of situations. And until they know who they are, they're just going to keep them in custody and possibly just let them go later on. And I don't believe the word arrested has been used out here as of yet, but again, still very active situation, and of course that is a huge house, and they've got a lot of rooms to clear before they allow those investigators in.
Yeah, we talk about the process of bringing this many law enforcement officials to the scene to have a raid like this and conduct a raid and make entry into a Holmby Hills mansion that's owned by a prominent celebrity and their business. So clearly, this is something that doesn't happen just overnight. Law enforcement officials do have to have their evidence ready. They have to make sure every T is crossed in order to make entry into a home like this for an investigation. So when we talk about and see these kinds of raids happen or having them be conducted, it kind of shows that they do have enough evidence that their investigation is to a certain point where they have made a search warrant. And
I think when Diddy or Puffy or feather or whatever you want to call him, when he complained about that liquor company that he was part of and started all that mess. That got all this started. I can guarantee you that got it all started. Now he has settled everything with them, but it's too late now because look at this. Here the police is. Let's go.
They've gotten all of the evidence they need to have a search warrant, that they have to establish that a crime was possibly committed and there's evidence of probable cause and a crime that has taken place. So all of these things, they have to meet a threshold before law enforcement can just come together like this and approach a property and make entry. So we're seeing that here at Holmby Hills and also in Miami, where they are searching Sean Combs' Miami home as well. So again, this doesn't just happen overnight. This is a process that they've been working on for quite some time to make sure that they have enough evidence to be able to conduct a raid like this, especially with so many law enforcement agencies involved, investigators involved, and you see just personnel involved on location right there. And you do see a number of people. This is going to be an active situation for quite some time. Again, we don't know what they're looking for. We don't know what the interest is right now. We can only presume that it is part of a sex trafficking investigation. Those are multiple lawsuits that Sean Combs have been facing this year alone, allegations that he denies, but clearly this could be all part of the process here. But again, law enforcement does just not go in willy-nilly into a home and conduct a raid like this unless they get the necessary evidence they need to get that search warrant to acquire entry as well. So if we could take a look from Haley's point of view, it does seem like there are more individuals gearing up or maybe more investigators on the scene from the ground there, Haley.
Hey, Sandra. Yes, we're actually trying to get an interview lined up, obviously live with the Department of Homeland Security. We had a lady come down here just a minute ago and give her card, so trying to contact her so we can, of course, get some official details from her, because everything that we're getting is basically behind the scenes from our law enforcement sources here. So basically, we don't have anything new yet. We're still just waiting to kind of figure out exactly what happened. We know, of course, P. Diddy's homes on both coasts have been raided. You can see some more officers coming out of his property right now, just trying to see if I could see the lady who we're hoping to get the interview with, and she's just messaging me back, so I've got to send her an email for the request first. So we're working on that to get you some more details. But yeah, it's still very active on scene, just more and more vehicles showing up. This is largely, most of the law enforcement officers here, Sandra, are, of course, the Department of Homeland Security, and then we also have LASD and LAPD here as well. So as soon as I can get anything official on camera, we'll come back and let you know.
Definitely. I know what it's like on the ground right there. You're dealing with a lot of officials, trying to get some answers, trying to talk to people, and of course it is very difficult to do two things at once. So we will let you get to work right there on the ground. Let's go up to Stu again. As I was mentioning the procedure of this, and you've covered so many of these types of stories, you've been overhead when these raids have happened. This isn't a process that just happens overnight. Clearly they are looking for something, they have enough evidence, and they were able to get a search warrant before they could even do or conduct a raid like this.
Oh, you definitely, Sandra, and what you're talking about really kind of shows exactly what you're trying to point out, that this didn't just happen overnight. This wasn't just an accusation and they came and, knocked down the doors and started tearing up the house. This was something that's an ongoing investigation. Lawyers, attorneys, and district attorneys, they all have to sign off on this. They have to look this over. Judges have to make that decision as well, and nobody wants to be on the end of a wrongful seizure. So, of course, they needed to show evidence that there is a reason for this type of force and for these officers to make their way into this home. And then again, of course, the world we live in today, all of these officers that are showing up, they all know that, we are everybody's under a watchful eye nowadays. So they made every effort to do this as quickly and as less destructive as possible. We watched them trying to get through one of those side gates that that pedestrian gate was giving them a little bit of an issue, but in the end they got in there, and after that they made their way in very quickly. We didn't see any doors being smashed or things getting kicked in. It was basically a lot of opening up and just letting that garage door, somebody got in there and they opened up that garage door, and or possibly the people inside were curious what was going on and they opened up that garage door. But again, the forceful entry part of it, it really truly was just in a little bit here in that side gate. Everything else was very quick and with etiquette would be the best way to say it, actually. Yeah. They went in and they just did what they needed to do. And again, the reason why they're still there, I can tell you, it's not like a television show where they're pulling out drawers and dumping out clothes and just trashing the place. They just want to make sure that there are no other people inside that building that may still be scared, hiding, or having a problem. And that as soon as that word is given, which I'm sure is going to come shortly, because we already saw a couple of the groups making their way in, less armed, so they're making their way in. They're going to start looking for, and of course, even in that warrant, they're going to have a list of things that they are able to look at, able to take. It isn't just a random search. They actually have to go in and actually find things that they believe have information or evidence that could create a guilty or innocent situation for Sean Combs. So at any rate, this is still very ongoing, very preliminary, but again, we do see a large force out there, which, like you're trying to say, or what I believe you did say, is that this is a warranted search. And of course, they are here, and they are definitely looking for specific pieces of information. What they are, we don't know. We may never know, but right now that search is definitely ongoing.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, we've covered so many of these different types of raids. Obviously, not always at a celebrity mansion like this in Holmby Hills, but clearly sometimes you see them having to forcefully enter a property and seize evidence, and it doesn't always go so smoothly. And it was, in fact, very smooth the way they gained entry into this property. And after they figured out that side entrance, they were able to make entry. But it's not like they show in the movies, as you mentioned, Stu, right? They weren't battering down doors and destroying property. This is very methodical, and in terms of many stories we've covered like this, it was a very easy entry, and they were able to access the property and get on site. So clearly, they're ready for anything. Whatever they're going to be met with, you don't know, and that is why they make sure that they are safe in numbers, that they're armored, and that is why you see such a big force out there, because you never know what kind of emotion you're going to be met with.
Definitely, and emotion is really what plays a lot of it, and that's one of the things that we were talking about is, you know, right now, that was the gate where they were having all that trouble. They're actually looking at that actual door and propping it open, but that was the door that was giving them trouble. And I was trying to figure out if that is actually maybe like a private entrance for that back house. It does actually look like it. It seems like, you know, if you're staying there, that's how you get in and out without going through the actual house itself. But you can see they still have personnel there on scene. Every house, there's 3 properties that I would say on this big piece of property. They all have some sort of somebody there, just making sure that there isn't anything being taken or anything moving in and out, and or another person in that area. But that main house, there's still a number of folks that like armored personnel that we've seen go in and have not seen come out. But there's some of those ones that are not wearing the gear, and those are that first group that made their way in. They were here originally. They came with the armored trucks. They did not make their way into the property. They waited outside, and now they are actually making their way to that front door, which shows you that their progress is being made. And of course, we keep keeping an eye on the as we call them, and it is what they are, the suits down there. I'm sure those are the ones that are pretty much running the show, or where all the evidence is going to go to in the end. They are still outside, so that shows you that they're going to be waiting. I would venture to say when they find something, those are the guys that are going to make their way in and actually looking at and taking things from this home. But right now, that's still, that process, I wouldn't even think has actually even started.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to take a lot of time. That is a huge mansion to be begin with, and then it depends on what they're looking for. It could be as small as a hard drive or as big as boxes and boxes full of evidence or information they're trying to collect and gather. And where all of that information is also the tricky part. I mean, think about going into a stranger's home. You don't know where they put things, and so it could be very hidden. So this whole process, it could take a lot of time in terms of them finding what they made entry for. So this is a methodical, lengthy process, and again, this is taking place right here in Holmby Hills, as well as his Miami home. And I'm sure law enforcement officials from both sides in Miami and LA are certainly talking to each other as they go through this as well. But still, no sign of Sean Combs himself. We don't know where he is. It's not clear if they're looking for him. He may be in New York, as Haley was mentioning on the ground there. But clearly, this was in all a very peaceful raid as they made entry, and right now as they are making their way in and out of the property as they conduct their search. But a search that is just beginning, as you see those suits, the investigators taking their time, making sure everything is done properly and methodically in terms of what they're looking for at this point. Again, we have a lot of questions that we just don't know the answers to at this point. We do have someone on the line right now, Hal Kemper. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you can make light of what we're looking at in terms of Homeland Security making entry into the Holmby Hills mansion of Sean Combs.
Sandra, this is a Homeland Security investigations that appears to be on site. What they're probably looking for is, well, I should say in general, they look at human trafficking and sex trafficking being a component of that. And of course, there's been some rather big civil suit stuff that's taken place, but also the New York case where the statute of limitations basically had been rescinded, allowing them to look back many years in this case. Part of it was there have been allegations that he was drugging young women, so that there was which certainly implies that it was rape that had taken place at some point. But I think what HSI is probably looking at is the interstate aspects of it, if there was any online activity that could have taken place. And that's usually where HSI would have a jurisdictional interest. Homeland Security Investigations being part of the Department of Homeland Security, looking at the interstate side, mostly online, and whatever took place across state lines. And of course, he travels all over the place, so I'm sure they're looking at him potentially transporting women around the country, and whether that was tied to a larger criminal activity.
Yeah, definitely Homeland Security involved in any interstate, as you mentioned.
If you are actually transporting, man, and you're a millionaire, bro, you was the stupidest person on earth. I hate to say it, I don't wish this on nobody, man, but you probably deserve what you're getting ready to get, man, because that was stupid, bro.
And international criminal activity here. So what exactly do you think everyone is looking for at this point? We saw such a large number of law enforcement make entry.
Well, it's a combination of both local and federal. And from what I understand, the local law enforcement has the specific lead at each one of these locations, with the federal federal investigators coming in with them in concert. What they're probably looking for is any evidence that they can gather, certainly any images, pictures, video, anything online. I've no doubt that they're going in and gathering up any electronic media, to include any laptops, any flash drives, anything that he might have that might support whatever allegations, whatever reasonable suspicion that they have that led to these search warrants. Just to get a search warrant like this requires a certain substantial legal barrier has to be, or legal argument or legal litmus test has to be met just to get them to sign off. particularly knowing with somebody with means like this, that if they go into their home, they're going to be met with some very capable lawyers on the defendant's part to challenge what was ever done, and everything they do there is going to be challenged. So you can imagine, not only did they have to work with the district attorney and potentially assistant U.S. attorneys in arranging this, but they also are being very careful on how they're gathering any evidence, realizing that just about everything they do on site will potentially be challenged in court by his attorneys.
Absolutely. And speaking of his attorneys, we did reach out for comment. We have not yet heard back. Obviously, we want to hear his side. For Sean Combs' part, he has denied any allegations regarding sex trafficking and any investigation into that. But yeah, this could take a lot of time in terms of collecting that hard drive and flash drives and any computers they may find. Like I was mentioning before, Hal, it's very difficult to know where someone would have that or would hide that if they were trying to hide evidence. And we're looking at a big mansion here. Before we get back to you, Hal, let's go to Haley on the ground there.
Hey, Sandra. Yes, we just got that statement from the Department of Homeland Security that I was trying to get for you guys about 10 minutes ago. It doesn't say a whole lot, but it says this is attributed to Homeland Security investigations. Earlier today, Homeland Security Investigations New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. We will provide further information as it becomes available. So nothing really that we haven't already told you. Here on the scene, on the ground, a lot of the law enforcement officers with Homeland Security have gone up the hill. You can see one of those big command vehicles coming out, one of those police vehicles. In the meantime, behind us, several of his friends, they've identified themselves as, have been trying to get through the crime scene to get to the house. But of course, LAPD not letting them through. We've tried to get comment from them on camera to find out if they have any more information about what's going on, but they haven't been able to they don't want to provide us any information, I should say. And just in case you're just joining us, we have homes of P. Diddy being raided on both coasts, Miami and his home here in Holmby Hills.
So, Haley, just to clarify, in that statement, it didn't mention Sean Combs, correct? Or anything?
It doesn't, but we have confirmation from multiple law enforcement sources that this does involve Sean Combs or P. Diddy. But no, this statement, I'll read it one more time, says earlier today, Homeland Security Investigations New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from both HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners.
All right.
We'll provide further information as it becomes available. And of course, we're trying to get them to talk to us on camera, but they said the lady in particular who sent me the statement says she's not allowed to.
Thank you so much. Yeah, not really clarifying a whole lot, though, but clearly understandable because right now, maybe they're not in position to divulge any more information. So let's bring you Hal Kempfer here again from Homeland Security. Thank you so much for your expertise in all this. I don't know if you heard that statement, but didn't really say anything except that an investigation is underway in Miami and here. So clearly not stating who it involves or what the charges are.
It doesn't, and they might be crime scenes. I should clarify, I'm not from Homeland Security, but I work in Homeland Security, and I've worked with Homeland Security investigations over many years. Very familiar with not only the agency, but also a lot of the individuals, a lot of the people who work there, to include here in Los Angeles, especially. What they're probably looking at are the two residences, one in New York, one in Los Angeles. I haven't seen the documentation, but if it doesn't name Sean Combs by name, it's probably because there's been allegations that criminal activity had taken place tied to sex trafficking at these locations. So what they're doing is they're looking at the locations themselves and investigating them as potential crime scenes. And of course, with that, I'm sure the scope is such that they can look just about anywhere, gather up any materials. They're probably gathering up any electronic materials. They're probably doing things like imaging the place, taking a lot of pictures and stuff that may be used later. Could be in reference to what witnesses say on the stand, that they may look at various pictures of the locations themselves to help refresh their memory. while they're talking about various activities that may have taken place or alleged to have taken place. So there's a lot of reasons why they might not focus on him per se. Also, there's another thing too, is he runs a fairly large organization. The fact that they don't name him might mean that they're looking at other activities that could have taken place within his immediate, entourage or his organization that involve these properties. So one can't rule out anything at this point because we don't know a lot.
Sure, and obviously this is just their statement to the press at this point. So what the actual legal documents say and what the statement they gave us is very, very different, let's be clear. So we're sometimes, not privy to all of those details and information until it becomes available at a later date. But you were mentioning the whole search process. We are seeing so many law enforcement officials, investigators, and this is basically 3 properties on this entire, or 3 homes, I should say, buildings on this entire property in Holmby Hills we're talking about. How long is it going to take for them to go through it? Do they have a time limit? I mean, essentially, some people are going to come back into the home, right, at some point. So how does that all play out?
I'm sure if you were to ask them, they'd say it's going to take as long as it takes. These are huge properties. You can imagine looking through one home takes a lot of time, but when you have 3 very large buildings with a lot of different rooms, various different levels on those homes. Also, they're going to be looking at every nook and cranny. They'll be looking anything that's subsurface in the home. They'll be looking in basically everywhere they can. They could be using a variety of sensor systems to find out if there's any hidden compartments, safes, things like that, and walls that aren't readily apparent. There could be a lot of different things they're looking for, and they may have dogs there too, looking for various different things as well. But they're probably looking for more where stuff may be held. I would imagine with that, and of course anything tied to any of the allegations. We don't know. But certainly the fact that they're there indicates that they probably had, some witnesses say that certain things happened or certain things were there when they were there. And they're probably trying to verify if those things are in fact there, if that what they were told is correct. So there's probably just a lot of things that they're working through, checking off a list of stuff. And by the way, they may be looking on the grounds themselves. There could be stuff that's not necessarily in the buildings that are on the grounds, and of course they'd be looking at that as well. I imagine it's going to take quite some time with a property this big for them to work through all of the potential spaces and places where materials could be.
Thank you so much. We will have more on Fox 11 FM. So if we get information, we'll once again. And now we resume.
We're going to look at we done looked at the raid at 2 of his places on the East Coast. Do you think they're gonna come out of there with something? Drop in the comments if you think they're gonna come out of there with something, man. I don't know, man. I hate to see that happen to anybody though, on the real, man. But from what I've heard, I don't know him or nothing like that. But from what I've heard and seen him in hip hop, nobody succeeds but him. All his artists, Big, Craig Mack, all his artists, bro, nobody succeeded but him. Black Rob died. He needed money for help. You understand what I'm saying? If you a billionaire, bro, come on, man. This is one of your artists at one time. But do y'all think they're gonna come out of there with something, man, or any type of if they do, Puffy is one of the stupidest mofos that I ever seen in my life, bro, because that is stupid. If you had anything for them to go on in your house and you know they already on you. I don't know, man. Drop in the comments what y'all think. Like, share, and subscribe to Eye on You TV. We in here with more content like this, man. Hit that like button. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. We on Facebook. Tap in, y'all. Peace.